Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing.
In closing, I'd like to quote President Obama. During his recent visit to Hiroshima, he said, "Above all, we must reimagine our connection to one another as members of one human race." Wow, think about it. Did he really say that? Better that he would be that.
Navy sonar blocks out important sounds. So for example, an animal that would otherwise flee a predator approaching may not hear that animal and may be eaten, or may be struck by a ship that it was unable to hear. The sonar, because it's so loud, also disrupts very important behaviors such as migrations, communication, feeding, and breeding. The animals that are exposed to the sonar desperately want to get away from the sound because it's so loud, it's painful. And so those important behaviors are interrupted as the animals try to flee that sound.
Look at this ship. Just look at it. You don't even have to know what it does. Look at it. It represents death. It represents horror. The very look of it is death and horror. Are you not outraged? You should be outraged. Your children are threatened by this. Children all over the world are threatened by this. It's an offensive weapon. It is offensive. These ships are not going to stay here and defend America's coast. They call them defensive. But they're not going to stay on America's coast. They're going to sail. They're going to move to the Pacific. They're going to threaten China. Just what we need. China, a nuclear entity, a country with nuclear weapons. We need to threaten them. We need to move off their coast. That's what this ship will do. I'm so outraged I don't have the words to express it. And I see all the people going in with their children and all the sailors that are participating in this. Someday you may understand what you're doing and what this ship is doing. You're creating the potential for war. This country already is based on a war economy. Is that the economy that you want? Is that a sustainable economy? I ask you to ask yourselves, is the war economy sustainable? No, because you have to keep creating death and destruction. It's based on death and destruction. I want to tell you something. Years ago, many years ago, when soldiers fought war, they fought other soldiers. That's who they fought. Nowadays, the ratio of civilians killed to military personnel in our wars is over 10 to 1. I'm talking about women and children being killed by our weapons. I'm talking about this boat, this Zumwalt, having the potential, the lethal potential to kill women and children at the rate of 10 to 1 soldiers. It's wrong to kill. This boat is being christened. Christened! What a hypocrisy this is. What irony. Christened in the name of Christ, who stood for peace, who stood for life. The boat stands for death. I would urge everybody going in there to turn their backs on this instrument of death and destruction and to walk out of there. That's what you should do with your children. You're exposing your children to this thing as if it's glorious. It's not glorious. It's not glorious and it's not heroic. It's shameful. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to everything good that this country is supposed to stand for. It does not defend democracy. It destroys democracy. It destroys freedom. This and other things like it. And $4 billion. Do you realize, you officers over there and you people going in, do you realize what $4 billion could do for this country? How many people $4 billion could send to school so they don't have to wind up with enormous debt when they come out of colleges? $4 $4 billion could feed people, could provide health care for people, could provide education for people, could fix our roads and our crumbling infrastructure. But no, what is it used for? It is used to create an instrument of death and destruction, and that is what all these people are going in there to worship. And that is what you all are there guarding, worshiping, honoring. There is nothing to honor here. This is wrong, wrong, wrong. And I want to thank you people again for standing up for peace, for standing up for life. We're in the minority, but we're always in the minority. And I thank you. At least we have somebody representing life and peace. Thank you all.
Every year, these ships are made and produced, and every year they go off overseas. And every year they cost billions of dollars. And every year there are children starving in this country. There are children starving, and we have a $4 billion ship here going off to create war in other countries. We need to remember today the words of our leaders from the past, people like Phil Berrigan and Martin Luther King, who preached against the evils of this rampant spending. It is a time of change in this country, and it is a time where this money could be used for health care and for a myriad of other social programs. It is time to end endless war, and we need to remember the words of John Lennon. War is over if you want it.
Let's try to sit quietly every now and then and look deep inside and see what's there, because it's all good. And we're all people together. Let's just learn to love each other.
Now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing.